Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk about how emotions cause your physical ailments. And I recently had bronchitis the last couple weeks. Spirit is always telling me what to talk about next. And, the idea is that emotions will eventually manifest in the physical once they reach a certain point. So if you think about stress, people that get stressed out, at first, maybe they don't have any physical symptoms. They just sort of feel it emotionally. And then, if they let the stress go on for too long, they could get an ulcer. They could start having insomnia or, something like that. All different types of things that can result from that emotion of stress. So other emotions that we have, all different various emotions, will eventually manifest in the physical if we let them build up for too long. But we don't always know exactly what our body is telling us. So if you're interested, there's my favorite book. It's my favorite spirit book. It's called Your Body is Telling You Love Yourself. And it is basically like an encyclopedia of the different ailments and the emotional cause behind them, and then what you can do to remedy that. So I've had bronchitis these last couple weeks, and I used to get bronchitis all the time when I was younger. I think I had it for almost a year straight one time. And the bronchia, when I look in this book, it says our representative family, and bronchitis often occurs when you're going through a family crisis or experiencing the disruptive chaos of quarreling. Now, when I was younger, I had a lot of family turmoil. My parents' marriage, I have two brothers who were getting into all sorts of things, and it created a lot of, family turmoil. And, reading this in hindsight, I realized why I had bronchitis so much. Now, after it also explains this a lot further, but I'm not going to read all of that to you. But I'll tell you, what it tells you you're supposed to do if you have bronchitis. And it says, realize that no family lives in complete harmony at all time. You don't have to share your family's opinions. Go ahead and branch out and be true to yourself and allow yourself to react to others honestly and without guilt. So when I was younger, I didn't believe what my family was sort of telling me about life in terms of a religious perspective. And so, I was sort of constantly out of harmony with the way they thought. And, this feeling, this emotion of disharmony in my family because of, the different family turmoil going on, plus me not agreeing with what, their philosophy on life was in some ways, caused me to get bronchitis all the time, constantly. And I haven't had it for a while. I still have had it intermittently throughout the years, and I still throughout the years had disharmony with my family and their beliefs. But, more recently, I started doing these videos and I started sharing them. And so even though I consider myself fairly balanced, I was reminded that there are things I need to work on, and accepting that, it's okay to have a difference of opinion, and I don't need to have a completely harmonic existence with my family all the time. And, we're all going to have different beliefs, and I just need to, react honestly and without guilt about what I believe. And, if I do that, then hopefully I won't get bronchitis anymore. But, these ailments are your body's way of reminding you that there's things you need to work on. We don't always have the key to what it is, and that's why the book is amazing. And I'll give you another example of when this happened to me. So after my mother passed away, probably in the next year or so, I started getting really bad shoulder problems. My left shoulder, which is my non-dominant hand, my non-dominant side. And I never had a problem with this side, was just really bothering me. Like, I couldn't even sleep on this shoulder because it hurt so bad. And, after my mother died, I was helping my father with a lot of things. My husband's father had passed away, and so I was helping him, and there was, I had a young child at home. And when I looked up what a shoulder problem meant here in this book, and it was basically saying that, you're taking on the weight of the world. You're taking on obligation. You feel you have a lot of obligation. And I did. I felt that. And that was manifesting because I let that build up over that year of feeling that way, and having this like cloud of obligation over me. It built up in my shoulder and manifested there. That illness like settled, that emotion settled there. And to address it, when I looked in this book, it said to basically not, you don't have to stop doing things. Yes, you can let people live their own lives and basically don't try to rescue everyone, because the whole point is that you're supposed to be living this life and learning things. So if you're rescuing people, they're not learning their lessons. And the other thing was, don't think about it as doing it out of obligation. Think about it as doing it out of love. Like, you're doing these actions. Don't stop helping people, but do it out of love. And that perspective shift, right? Which we've talked about in a lot of other videos, where you change your perspective, you change the situation. So if somebody needed something and I thought it was a good thing to do and that they didn't need to do it themselves, I would say, okay, I'm going to help that person or do this thing because I love them, and that's why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it because I feel like I have to, or there's nobody else, I'm going to do it because I love them. And that perspective shift, I have been actively working on that. And my shoulder has improved dramatically because I've addressed that. Now, I tried to do yoga, stretching, all kinds of stuff to my shoulder to try to fix it before I found this book. And it didn't help. It didn't help at all. And I was shocked, because yoga, I usually found it would help a lot of, different tightnesses. But this was, a pretty severe emotional tightness that was still going on. So I hadn't resolved what was originating that emotion. And so it stayed. And when we see people medicate things, you're addressing the cause. Now I do think, of course, Western medicine and meds, should be used as well. So if you have a physical ailment, you should definitely address it with all the means necessary. But this is another method of addressing the underlying cause, while you're also maybe addressing the other physical ailments. So if you can remedy the underlying cause, then you can heal yourself. And you can still use other medicines as well to help the symptoms and other things that are going on. But if you don't address the underlying cause, it might go away for a while if you take medicine, but it's going to come back up if you haven't addressed it. So it's a really interesting thing that I found, looking into this. And it's not something that's always intuitive. Like, you don't always know if your foot hurts, why that's happening. So you can Google stuff, the metaphysical cause of a certain ailment. And it can, hopefully online, but I really think this book is the best way to look at what the emotional cause is, and it'll give you what you need to do to address that, to change your perspective or change the situation. And I highly recommend buying this book. It's on Amazon for, I don't know, $15 or something. So I think this is a revolutionary thing when I realized this, because I went back and looked at some other ailments I've had when I was growing up, or if somebody has an illness, I'll look it up and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what's going on in their life right now. And it's really bizarre to see how directly correlated this is. So if you're having a physical ailment, you can do some research and figure out, maybe what is the emotional cause behind the ailment, and how can you balance yourself or address that to heal yourself. I joked with one of my friends one time. I was like, after I got this book, I said, I know how to heal every single person. All you have to do is, settle every single internal emotional problem you've ever had, and have all wonderful relationships, and you'll be perfectly healthy. Now, obviously, that is a state where most of us can't operate all the time, and it takes a lot of work to get to a point where we're completely balanced like that. So, even with me, I have bronchitis. I need to think about how I need to change my perspective so that way I don't get bronchitis anymore, because I don't want to have bronchitis. So if anyone has any questions about this, let me know. But it's a really interesting topic, and there's lots of resources out there on the internet about the metaphysical cause of disease. And if you're interested in it, grab that book and do some research and heal yourself. Okay, take care, guys.